Okay, I wanted to go over the differences now since Trump has been elected the new president and what you can kind of expect, and look at your plans for the future on how you want to gear your taxes, your international planning, and all of this stuff. First of all, neither president wanted to eliminate your income tax. In fact, the only people that I know that have ever run for office that actually was actually trying to eliminate the income tax was Ron Paul was one of them, and there was a black guy about 25 years ago. I can't remember his name. He was a very strict libertarian, but he ended up not doing anything as far as getting votes. And what happened was there just wasn't enough people that wanted to get rid of the income tax. So what you're going to find out is if that's a push that you're pushing for, is trying to get elected president, you just don't get any votes. Ron Paul only got like maybe 2 to 6% of the votes. He got almost nothing. So, you know, because most people don't pay taxes in the U.S. anyway. They don't make enough, or they find ways to have children or whatever to write it off. So it's just not a big thing for them. The only way you can really make a change, you're going to have to make the change yourself. Now, is Trump going to be better than what Kamala Harris would have been? I would say by far. I mean, yes, quite a bit so. But the thing is you're still not going to get your income taxes to zero. If you go to a state that doesn't have a state income tax, you can eliminate that, but it doesn't save that much. And you know, it's I always tell people you're better off just getting a second passport and insurance policy, because probably what you're going to find out, you know, Trump's only going to have 4 years in office, and J.D. Vance, if he gets re-elected, gets elected, if Trump, finishes his 4 years out, his last 4 years out, what's he going to do? Is he going to be as conservative as Trump? And I can tell you, he's not going to get your income taxes to zero. You know what's funny is St. Kitts, for instance, and I've mentioned this in other videos, they don't have an income tax in St. Kitts. They also don't have one in Antigua. Now, I don't know that much about the political parties in Antigua as much as I do St. Kitts, but I know in St. Kitts, neither party wants an income tax. Whereas in the U.S., both parties can't seem to get rid of the income tax, okay? And I'm sure Trump would probably like to eliminate, but he knows he's not going to get elected on it. And there's too many people getting freebies and handouts there now. It just wouldn't affect them, okay? So they're not going to get votes from it. The only way you can do it is to take off and leave, qualify for the foreign overseas exclusion. If Trump does what he says he's going to do, he's talking about having an overseas exclusion, but it sounds like it's going to be unlimited. He didn't mention enough to really state what he's going to do on that. Right now, as I gave a video the other day, it's $130,000 for husband and wife, each which equal $260,000 if you qualify for the foreign overseas exclusion and you're outside the U.S. long enough to do that. Now, if Trump does what he says he's going to do, or the way I read it, maybe he's going to make some changes, that $260,000 might be unlimited, okay? Which means they would pretty much end citizenship taxation, because once you leave the country and you're out long enough, it would be like a lot of these other countries that don't tax based on citizenship. But I can tell you this, liberals don't like that. And as soon as he gets out of office, that's going to get changed. So the problem is you've got to worry about every 4 years, what's the new guy going to do? It's like when Reagan was in office, he left office, had a real good track record. His vice president, Bush, comes in, said he would never raise taxes. What did he do? He raised taxes. And he was really not, in fact, I don't even call Reagan a conservative. I would say probably in my lifetime, Trump's probably the first I would call semi-conservative. But somebody that I would say is conservative is someone like this in St. Kitts, the political parties here, where they don't have an income tax, okay? That's what I call conservative. But you're not going to see this in most big countries. They're just not going to do it. especially with countries that have huge debts like the U.S. It's just basically they're addicted to wars. They're in wars all the time, and they're building up military all the time. You have to pay for that. It's coming out of your tax dollars. And I can't see them doing something really much with Social Security, because it's suicide for politicians to try to cut back on that. They know that nobody's going to vote for them that's going to receive those benefits. Even young people that paid in the system, they don't want to be paying in a system where when they know when they get to be 65 years old or whatever, decide the age they want to retire, they're not going to get anything from that. So they don't want to be in that situation either. So both parties in the U.S. have known, don't mess with Social Security. So I think what you're going to see is a bureaucracy, and I think what's going to happen too, because Trump has all these, and I think Musk is going to try to do the best he can in trying to get this debt down. But I'll tell you something, when you turn around and you give all these people, the waiters and waitresses, people have overtime, and you're lowering the tax base a lot, and you owe tremendous amounts of money. Something's got to give, you know. And a national sales tax is not very popular in the U.S. because it hits the poor and middle class. So, and when you got this huge debt, and then on top of that, you're always trying to build the military, the biggest in the world, it's going to come out of your pocket in taxes, okay? And so you're not going to see, I'll be honest with you, Trump's going to be better than Harris, but I'm going to tell you, I don't see a huge dent in your taxation. And what you will see is on these tariffs, if you like buying foreign items and you live in the U.S., you will have a tax on that, because if you're buying Chinese cars in the U.S. and Trump decides to put 100% tariff on that, you might call it a tariff. It's a sales tax, okay? So you're going to be paying a lot for that. But like I said, if you go international, you can do everything negotiated. You can hire people for your business 90% discount on the dollar by going outside the U.S. You can buy your products, your services at steep discounts, and then get your income taxes to zero. That's the best way to do it. But you're going to have to make a decision to move outside the U.S. to get that done. And you're going to have to be outside the U.S. long enough to make it viable for that. Now, another thing too is I'd be looking at is I would be trying to get at least most people that work with us, they don't actually relinquish their U.S. citizenship. They get a second passport. There's an insurance policy, so if crap hits the fan, they can take off and leave. And all they got to do is relinquish, because it does take a while to get that second passport. You're going to have to do that before you relinquish your other citizenship. But the key is I would try to have that as more or less an insurance policy in case you want to move overseas, the taxes get really bad, and you can't take any more in the U.S. You move to a place, but you need to get that second passport in a place that doesn't have an income tax. I've told people that over and over again. Pick a place that has good visa-free travel, that doesn't have an income tax. And the two, with the fast track program, the Caribbeans that have that is Antigua and Barbudas and St. Kitts and Nevis. That's what you want to be looking for. Another reason you want to do it too is what happens is if you don't have citizenship in a country, a lot of times they'll bar you out from working in that country. So it does two things. It gives you the right to move to that country and live there and have a business, or you can set a business up and take off and leave if you want. The other option too is if you're picking a country that doesn't have an income tax, inside or outside the country, you can qualify for the foreign overseas exclusion, but again, you've got to be outside the U.S. long enough to qualify for that exclusion, okay? It's important that you go by that. And of course, if Trump eliminates that exclusion totally, and was unlimited, in other words, you got the exclusion, but the amount that you exclude is unlimited, then that can really add a lot and help in growing a business and lowering your taxes quite a bit. But, and also if you get used to living overseas, then you have an option. If you see that you feel comfortable living overseas, why not just give up your passport? I mean, that's an option. It's a stepping stone. You step from one, and then you step to the other. So you start off maybe being abroad, keeping your passport. Do this for several years until you feel comfortable, and then if you want to relinquish, you can do it. You've got that second passport in place. I would be doing this while these second passports are still in effect, because you can see this totally in. I know this if the OECD came back and said, hey, look, you're going to have to give up your second passports with all these fast-track programs in the Caribbean. If these countries don't do it, we are going to make you lose your visa-free travel to the Schengen countries. I can tell you, I don't know what the Prime Minister would say, but in more than likelihood, they would probably give up the second passport, okay? Why? Because a lot of people, you got a lot of people in St. Kitts and Antigua that don't want to lose that visa-free travel, okay? And that's very unpopular for a Prime Minister to do something that's going to make a country lose all that visa-free travel and have to get visas everywhere. So if they end that, then you're going to be stuck where you're having to depend on a residency by investment, which can take years to get. I'm trying to talk to St. Kitts now about coming out with a new program. Just talked with one of the top people with the country just the other day, sent some texts back and forth, and what I'm hoping they'll do is come out with a real short residency by investment period as a backup, not just as a supplementary, but as a backup. If this OECD comes in and says, hey, you got to get rid of your fast-track citizenship program, then at least St. Kitts has got a backup. They've already got this residency by investment program in force. And the great thing about that, a person, if they're going by what I'm telling, I'm hoping they can get it approved. It would be a 3 or 4 year residency period to get the passport. And what that would do is it would not affect the citizenship by investment program at all, because most people who get the fast track program, they don't move to St. Kitts anyway. They just get the fast track program to stay where they're at. With this option, they would have to move to St. Kitts or have a similar program that Dominican Republic has, where you get the residency, and after a certain period of time, you get the passport. Now, I don't know if they would go with that, because the DR doesn't have to worry about the Schengen countries, because they don't have visa-free travel to the Schengen countries anyway. So if the OECD comes in and puts pressure on them, their passport's so bad anyway, they don't really give a rat's butt what the OECD says, because their passport's so bad anyway. So I think they would have to decide, do they want to make this like a paper residency where the person's not actually moving there, or do they want to make the person have a residency set up and they've got to be there, maybe let's say at least the last 6 months before they apply for the passport, or do they have to be there the whole time on the ground to get that residency in place, and then prove they were there in St. Kitts for that time period. But what this would do is it would add to the program. But by doing this, also you could live in the U.S. While that time period is taking place, or they might not let you do that. Whether you're from Canada or whatever, you might have to actually move to St. Kitts to live there the whole time period. And they might have separate, I gave them some different options. You would have to invest more money if you didn't come to the island, and it would take longer, like 4 years instead of 3 years, or you could move to the island and then invest less money to get the passport in a shorter period of time. There are several different options I threw in there. Hopefully they'll look at this, because what it will do is give them different options that they can have on top. But I think what you're going to see is a lot of these countries are going to be going more towards residency by investment as time goes on, and there's going to be too much pressure from these OECD countries. So I think what you'll see is a lot of maybe changes in the next 5 or 10 years. So you really want to get this fast track program under your belt. Now, right now, I did a video not too long ago. Now St. Kitts has lowered their minimum for real estate to $325,000, but you're only paying $25,000 US dollars for the actual government fee for one person for the passport. There are a few other fees you have to pay on top of that, but that's the cheapest the government fee has been in years. And that's the lowest the real estate option has been in about almost 20 years, not quite 20. It's been about 17 years. But you want to have the option where you can go in and work in another country without any sort of hitches, and this is one of the main reasons you want to get that second passport. Again, pick a country that doesn't have an income tax. If I had to tell you anything, you want to do that, because I see so many people don't do that and they end up getting another passport, and it's a total waste of money. And a lot of times these passports in the fast track program, they overlap countries, and it's just wasting your money doing that. Get a country that has no income tax to begin with. That's what you want to make sure on that. Now, one thing too, if you start a residency by investment program like St. Kitts or Antigua's got a longer period. It's got a 5-year right now period, so that's why I'm suggesting the government lower that to 3 or 4 years, and that actually is shorter than Antigua's residency by investment program. And then if you want to go with the fast track program, you have that option. You can just anytime you want to, pay that difference and get that that fast track program set up. What we also mentioned to you, one thing that you can do if you want to get your income taxes to zero and you don't like the system, maybe the tax system that exists in the U.S. even under Trump, what you can do, there are ways that you can actually not only remember the foreign overseas exclusion only excludes earned income, not investment income, but there are ways you can convert investment income to earned income. And also there are ways where we can actually help people get their property taxes down 90%. I've talked to so many people, I'm showing them how to do that and getting it done. So, it's you might have to shift your real estate around, but the property tax, for instance, in St. Kitts is like 0.20% of the purchase price with a $29,600 US dollar exclusion before that 0.20% kicks in. You take a place like New Jersey, you're looking around 2.5% on the property tax, depending on what part of New Jersey you're living in. So you're looking at, be 12, 15 times lower. That can knock your property tax down 80, 90%. So there's so many different things you can do. Some people pay more in property tax than they do in income tax. And property tax is pretty hard to change. You really have to relocate the asset to do that. And that's another option that you might want to look at. Also, folks, if you can help us out, we don't monetize this channel, and it would help on the algorithm if you give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and also hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here. You'll get new videos automatically as they come out. And our website too, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 4 to 8 months, is www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And there will be a WhatsApp number right on your screen right there. Just text us and we'll be glad to help you and give you advice on this. But again, I don't see a lot of changes in the difference between Harris and Trump, other than you're going to see your sales tax is going to go up quite a bit if those tariffs are thrown in. And remember, products you buy in the U.S. are going to be higher than you can get abroad. But if they don't do an equal trade agreement with the U.S., they're going to hit a tariff on these countries trying to bring in their products from overseas. And guess who pays for that? You're going to have to pay for that in a huge sales tax. So, but the biggest thing is the income tax, capital gains tax, estate tax, inheritance tax. You don't have that in St. Kitts or Antigua. So this is something you ought to think about if you really want to get that to zero. If you want to know more on this, again, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.